The concept of the haunted hospital serves as the atmospheric foundation for our tale. A haunted hospital is a setting steeped in eerie history and chilling tales, characterized by its abandoned corridors, flickering lights, and the lingering aura of past traumas. This location is not just a backdrop, but a living, breathing character that interacts with the protagonist, the nurse. Its dark past is crucial to the narrative, shaping the experiences and emotions of those who walk its halls. The significance of this setting lies in its ability to evoke fear and anticipation, immersing the audience in a world where the line between the living and the dead blurs. Hospitals are traditionally places of healing, yet here the irony lies in its transformation into a place of unrest and mystery, adding layers of complexity to the nurse's struggle. Consider the infamous Waverly Hills Sanatorium, often cited as one of the most haunted places in the world. It serves as a real-world example of how a hospital's tarnished history, filled with suffering and death, can foster ghostly legends. Similarly, the Taunton State Hospital, with its tales of patient abuse and supernatural sightings, showcases the potential of such settings to captivate and terrify audiences. Supporters of the haunted hospital trope arguing that these settings uniquely blend the familiar with the unknown, transforming a symbol of safety into one of fear. This duality enhances the haunting atmosphere, as audiences are confronted with the unsettling idea that places meant for care can also harbor darkness. However, some critics might argue that the haunted hospital setting can be overly reliant on cliches, risking predictability. There's a challenge in ensuring that the story remains fresh and engaging, avoiding well-trodden paths and instead offering new insights into the human condition intertwined with the supernatural. This setting influences the rest of the story by serving as the catalyst for the nurse's journey. It is the haunted environment that stirs the spirit of her deceased colleague, prompting the spectral encounters that drive the narrative. The setting's oppressive atmosphere parallels the nurse's internal struggle with grief, blurring the line between reality and the supernatural. As the ghost begins to interact through messages, the hospital's sinister past comes into play, forcing the nurse to confront whether she's facing a warning or falling into a trap. This confluence of setting, character, and plot underlines the importance of the haunted hospital, making it central to the unfolding tale. The heading 2, Write a Haunting Tale of the Nurse in the Haunted Hospital, invites the creation of a narrative centered around a nurse who encounters the ghost of a deceased colleague within a hospital that bears a dark history. In this setting, the ghostly apparition serves as more than a mere figment of imagination. It becomes a crucial narrative device that propels the storyline forward, challenging the boundaries between reality and the supernatural. The significance of this point lies in its ability to weave an intricate tapestry of suspense and emotional depth, thereby engaging the audience through themes of grief, fear, and the unknown. In examining real-world parallels, one might consider the psychological phenomenon where individuals report seeing deceased loved ones during periods of intense grief, often attributed to the mind's coping mechanisms. This mirrors the nurse's initial assumption that her experiences are grief-induced hallucinations. Alternatively, consider the historical context of haunted locations, where legends surrounding hospitals are not uncommon. Hospitals, with their frequent brushes with life and death, create a fertile ground for tales of lingering spirits. These examples highlight how settings imbued with emotional or historical weight can enhance the haunting narrative, offering a familiar yet eerie backdrop to the story. Supportive opinions often argue that such stories underscore the effects of unresolved grief and trauma, providing audiences a vicarious means to explore these themes in a safe, fictional context. They argue that supernatural elements allow for a deeper exploration of these difficult emotions, creating a space for catharsis and understanding. However, challenges arise when attempting to balance supernatural elements with believable character development, ensuring that the story remains relatable while still embracing its eerie premise. Some critics might also argue against the stereotypical portrayal of ghosts as malevolent, urging for a more nuanced depiction that reflects various interpretations of the afterlife. This point connects to other aspects of the main topic by setting the stage for escalating tension and mystery. The nurse's interactions with the ghost can serve multiple narrative functions. As a warning, it propels her to uncover hidden truths within the hospital's history. As a trap, it tests her resolve and intuition. These interactions directly influence the unfolding plot and character arcs, pushing the narrative into new territories of horror and suspense. Ultimately, the haunted hospital becomes a character in its own right, its ghostly happenings shedding light on broader themes of life, death, and the enduring power of human connection beyond the grave. The concept of the tragic death of the former colleague serves as a cornerstone in storytelling within the haunted hospital narrative, setting the stage for the unfolding mystery and supernatural elements. This aspect breathes life into the tale, as it introduces the central, ghostly figure whose past and circumstances become the catalyst for the eerie events that unravel. In essence, the tragic death is not merely a backdrop, but the trigger that activates the haunting, imbuing the story with emotional depth and a compelling motive for the ghost presence. This point is fundamentally significant because it personalizes the haunting, allowing the audience to empathize with both the ghost and the nurse. A colleague's death, particularly under tragic circumstances, can leave lingering emotions that transcend the boundary between life and death. The nurse's journey from skepticism to understanding the ghost messages hinges entirely on comprehending this past tragedy. It is through this lens that the story explores themes of grief, unresolved issues, and the quest for closure. In real-world contexts, tragic deaths in hospitals are not just fictional devices. They can haunt the living in metaphorical and emotional terms. For instance, there are stories of hospital staff who feel an unexplained presence after the loss of a patient or a colleague, which may be interpreted as their mind seeking closure or grappling with guilt. Additionally, the documented phenomena of grief hallucinations, where bereaved individuals experience the presence of the deceased, illustrate how grief can manifest in powerful, sometimes paranormal ways. Opinions supporting the idea often revolve around the concept of unfinished business, a popular belief that spirits remain earthbound due to unresolved issues. This idea posits that the ghost of the former colleague may be seeking to communicate a crucial message, thereby lending a sense of urgency and poignancy to the tale. However, challenges and controversies arise, particularly the ethical question of exploiting tragic real-life incidents for dramatic effect. Some might argue that fiction should tread carefully around themes of death and loss, given their sensitive nature. Moreover, skeptics might view supernatural encounters as mere figments of imagination rather than genuine occurrences, prompting debates about the balance between realism and fantasy. Ultimately, the tragic death of the former colleague is not an isolated event, but a narrative thread that weaves through the entire haunted hospital story. It influences the nurse's emotional journey, frames the ghostly encounters, and invites viewers to ponder the thin veil between life and the afterlife, amplifying the tale's haunting resonance. The concept of a nurse encountering the ghost of a former colleague in a haunted hospital taps into the long-standing fascination with the supernatural and the unexplained realms of life after death. This storyline blurs the line between psychological distress and paranormal reality, exploring themes of grief, guilt, and unresolved trauma. The ghost initially appears as a figment of the nurse's imagination, a possible psychological reaction to the tragedy of losing a colleague in a familiar and emotionally charged environment. However, the narrative takes a chilling turn as the ghost begins leaving tangible messages, transforming the haunting into a mysterious puzzle. Is the ghost providing a warning or setting a deadly trap? This storyline holds significant weight in the framework of a haunting tale. It elevates the narrative from a simple ghost story to a psychological thriller, engaging the audience in a deeper exploration of the nurse's psyche and the potential for malevolent forces. The hospital, a place associated with healing, becomes a paradoxical setting where life and death coexist, thus amplifying the eerie atmosphere. A specific example can be drawn from the real-life accounts of healthcare professionals who have reported strange occurrences in hospitals, such as sudden drops in temperature and electronic equipment malfunctioning without explanation. These experiences contribute to the authentic backdrop for the tale. Additionally, historical cases like the well-documented story of the ghostly nurse at Illinois' Mentino State Hospital provide a real-world parallel that enriches the narrative's plausibility and depth. Support for the concept often comes from psychological studies suggesting that grief can manifest in hallucinations, particularly in environments tied closely to the deceased. However, skeptics challenge the validity of such supernatural experiences, attributing them to stress or mental illness. Another challenge lies in balancing the story's supernatural elements with empathy for the nurse's emotional state, ensuring it doesn't trivialize mental health issues. This haunting narrative interconnects with broader themes, such as the emotional toll of working in high-stress environments like hospitals and the human need for closure. By weaving in a ghostly presence, the story explores fear, memory, and the potential for redemption or damnation, thus influencing character development and plot progression. The ghost's ambiguous role, whether protector or predator, keeps the audience questioning motivations and deepens the suspense, ultimately making the tale an intricate tapestry of horror, mystery, and emotional depth.